The night is very quiet. The air feels soft and still, as if even the wind has grown tired and settled into rest. From far away, there is a faint scent of dry earth, the kind of scent that lingers after a long, warm day beneath the sun. Above, the sky stretches wide and endless. It feels larger than it should, deeper than the eye can follow. The stars rest gently in that darkness, steady and calm, like distant lanterns that have been burning for a very long time. Now, slowly, you can begin to imagine that you are no longer here. You are drifting backward, far into the past, into a time when everything moved more slowly, when life unfolded in quiet patterns, and days followed one another like soft footsteps in the sand. This is ancient Egypt. Near the edge of a great river, a small settlement rests in silence. The Nile flows beside it, calm and unhurried. Its waters are not bright, not shining loudly, but deep and dark, carrying a soft reflection of the night sky above. The homes nearby are simple. Low walls made of dried mud. Flat roofs that hold the heat of the day and release it slowly into the night. Inside, the air is still, gently cooling as the hours pass. In one of these homes, a person lies asleep. He is not a king. He is not a noble. He is not remembered in carvings or written in records. He is a servant. A quiet worker whose name has been lost to time, but whose life followed a steady rhythm, repeated day after day, like the slow turning of the earth beneath the sun. He sleeps on a woven mat placed directly on the ground. The earth beneath him is firm, but not uncomfortable. It is familiar. Around him, others are sleeping too. Their breathing is soft and even. No one speaks. No one moves much. The room holds a quiet warmth, fading slowly into the coolness of early morning. There are no clocks here. No bells. No sudden alarms. Only the body, and the world around it. And both are beginning to notice something. The night is ending. At first, it is almost impossible to tell. The darkness does not disappear all at once. It loosens slowly, like a shadow gently stepping back. In the far distance, toward the east, a faint light begins to rise. It is soft. Barely there. But it is enough. The servant's breathing shifts slightly. Not waking fully, not yet. But the body knows. Another day is coming. His sleep is not deep. It never is. Years of routine have trained him to wake before the sun, before the heat, before the work begins in full. Gradually, his eyes open. He does not move right away. He simply lies there, looking into the dim shape of the room. The walls are faint outlines. The ceiling is barely visible. For a few moments, everything is still. There is no rush. There is never a rush at this hour. Only the quiet understanding that the day will begin, as it always does. He slowly draws in a breath, then lets it go. His body feels the weight of yesterday's work. His hands are rough, the skin thickened from repeated effort. His feet are firm and hardened from walking across dry ground, day after day, without rest. But this feeling is familiar. It does not surprise him. He sits up. The woven mat shifts slightly beneath him. The ground is cool now, holding the last traces of night. He places his feet down carefully, feeling that coolness against his skin. For a moment, he stretches. His arms lift slowly. His shoulders roll. His back straightens with a quiet, practiced motion. There is no sound except the faint movement of cloth and breath. Outside, the first birds have begun to stir. Their calls are soft. Not loud, not sharp. Just gentle notes carried through the early air. He stands. His clothing is simple. A light linen garment, worn thin over time. It rests loosely against his body, allowing the air to pass through. It is enough. He steps toward the doorway. The outside air meets him gently. It is cooler than the inside, touched by the last moments of night. The sky above is changing now, no longer fully dark, but not yet bright. A pale blue begins to spread. Near the horizon, a faint glow forms, the quiet promise of the sun. He pauses. Just for a moment. Standing there, he looks outward. The world is still half asleep. Shapes are soft. Sounds are few. The Nile lies in the distance, a long, quiet line stretching across the land. This moment, this small space between night and day, is the calmest part of his life. And then, without thought, he turns to his work. There is always work. He reaches for a clay jar resting near the wall. It is smooth in some places, rough in others, shaped by hand and hardened by fire. This jar will carry water. Water is needed for everything. He lifts it easily. His body knows the weight, even before it is filled. Then he begins to walk. The path beneath his feet is familiar. It has been walked many times, by many people. The ground is worn in places, marked by countless steps over countless days. His movement is steady. Not fast. Not slow. Just consistent. In the distance, other figures begin to appear. Other servants. Other workers. Some walk alone. Some in pairs. Their voices are quiet, low, almost blending into the air itself. No one speaks loudly. No one disturbs the calm. Together, they move toward the river. The Nile. It is always there. Always moving. Always giving. When he reaches the edge, he kneels down. The ground here is slightly damp, cooler than the dry land above. The scent of water rises gently, mixing with the smell of earth and plants. He lowers the jar. The water accepts it without resistance. There is a soft sound as the jar fills, a quiet, hollow echo as air leaves and water takes its place. He lifts it again. Now it is heavy. But his arms do not tremble. This is a weight he has carried many times before. It fits into his routine as naturally as breathing. For a moment, he looks out across the river. The surface reflects the early light. It shimmers softly, not yet bright, just gently alive. Then he stands. Turning back toward the settlement, he begins the walk home. Behind him, the sun slowly rises. Ahead of him, the day waits, calm, predictable, and full of small, quiet tasks. And step by step, without hurry, he returns. The path back from the river feels slightly different now. The light has changed. What was once soft and dim is slowly becoming clearer. The shapes of the homes begin to sharpen. The edges of walls, the lines of rooftops, the quiet spaces between buildings, all of it comes gently into view. The servant walks steadily, the filled clay jar resting securely in his hands. The weight presses down through his arms and into his shoulders, but he does not resist it. His body has learned how to carry such things without strain. His steps remain even, measured, almost quiet enough to disappear into the ground beneath him. Around him, others are returning as well. Some carry water. Some carry bundles of reeds or tools left outside from the day before. A few speak in low voices, but the words are soft and slow, as if the morning itself asks them to remain gentle. There is no urgency. The day has begun, but it has not yet grown heavy. When he reaches the small home, he steps inside without a sound. The room is dim, but no longer dark. A pale light filters in through the doorway, resting lightly on the earthen floor. The others inside are beginning to wake. One shifts slightly. Another lets out a quiet breath and turns. He lowers the jar carefully. The base touches the ground with a soft, dull sound. Water is life here. It will be used slowly, carefully, throughout the day. Some for drinking. Some for washing. Some for preparing food that will be simple, but enough. He pauses for a moment, standing still. Then he moves again. There are many small tasks to begin. He reaches for a small cloth and dips it lightly into the jar. The water is still cool from the river. He brings it to his face and gently wipes away the last traces of sleep. The feeling is refreshing, but not sharp. Just enough to awaken the senses. He wipes his hands, his arms, his neck, slow movements, quiet and unhurried. There is no mirror. No need to see himself. The act itself is enough. Outside, the sounds of the settlement are slowly growing. A door opens somewhere nearby. Footsteps pass along the path. A faint voice calls out, not loudly, just enough to be heard by someone close. The day is forming. He steps outside again. The air has warmed slightly, though it still carries a hint of the night's coolness. The sky is now a soft, clear blue. The sun has risen just above the horizon, casting long, gentle shadows across the ground. The light touches everything evenly. Mud walls glow faintly. Dust on the ground begins to shine in small, scattered grains. Even the distant river reflects a brighter tone now, though it remains calm. He takes a slow breath. Then he turns toward his next task. There is grain to prepare. This is work that returns every day, as steady as the rising of the sun. Near the side of the home, a simple grinding stone rests on the ground. It is worn smooth from years of use. The surface carries the marks of countless movements, repeated over and over again. He kneels beside it. A small amount of grain is placed on the stone. Dry, pale, and simple. It holds the promise of food, but only after effort. He takes the grinding tool in his hands. It is heavy, shaped to fit the palms, its surface rough in places from long use. He positions it carefully, then begins to move it back and forth across the grain. The sound is soft. A steady, low rhythm. Stone against stone. Grain breaking down slowly beneath the pressure. Back and forth. Again and again. There is no rush. There is no need for speed. Only repetition. The motion becomes almost thoughtless. His arms move in a familiar pattern. His breathing settles into the same rhythm. The world around him continues, but his focus remains here, on this simple, necessary task. As the grain begins to change, becoming finer, softer, he adjusts the pressure slightly. The movement remains smooth, controlled, consistent. The sun rises a little higher. The air warms a little more. The shadows shorten, almost without being noticed. Other servants nearby are doing the same work. The quiet sound of grinding stones fills the space between the homes. It is not loud. It does not disturb. It simply exists, a shared rhythm across the settlement. From time to time, a faint breeze moves through. It lifts small traces of dust, carries the scent of earth and grain, and passes just as gently as it came. He continues. There is comfort in this repetition. Nothing unexpected. Nothing uncertain. Only the steady passing of time, marked by simple actions. Eventually, the grain reaches the right texture. He slows his movement. Then stops. The silence that follows feels soft, almost noticeable after the steady rhythm. He sets the tool aside. The ground grain is gathered carefully. Nothing is wasted. Every small portion matters. Nearby, a small fire has been prepared. Not large. Not bright. Just enough. A few pieces of dry material, arranged carefully, with a small flame beginning to grow between them. The smoke rises thinly, drifting upward and disappearing into the morning air. He moves closer. The warmth is gentle. Not intense. Just present. The grain is mixed with water, slowly, by hand. The texture changes again, becoming something soft and workable. He shapes it simply, without decoration, without variation. This is food for the day. Basic. Necessary. Enough. He places it near the heat. And waits. There is always waiting. The fire does its work quietly. The surface of the food begins to change, slowly firming, slowly warming through. He sits back slightly. There is no need to hurry it. Around him, the settlement is now fully awake. Voices are still soft, but more frequent. Footsteps move more often. The day has begun in full, though it still carries the calm of early morning. Children pass by in the distance, their movements lighter, less burdened by work. An older voice calls them gently, guiding them back toward their own tasks. Everything has its place. Everything moves in its own time. He watches the small fire. The flicker of flame is steady. The smoke rises in thin lines. The smell of warming grain drifts lightly through the air. It is a simple moment. Quiet. Unchanging. And then, when it is ready, he reaches forward once more. Carefully. Without haste. And continues the day, just as he has done so many times before. The warmth from the small fire lingers gently in the air. It is not overwhelming. It does not demand attention. It simply exists, steady and quiet, like everything else in this early part of the day. The servant reaches forward and turns the simple bread slightly, making sure it warms evenly. His movements are slow, careful, practiced over many mornings that have passed in almost the same way. There is no need to think about it. His hands remember. The surface of the bread begins to firm. A faint change in color appears, soft and uneven. The scent rises a little more now, warm, plain, comforting in its simplicity. He watches it for a moment. Then, when it feels right, he lifts it away from the heat. There is no plate. No decoration. Just the bread, held lightly in his hands. He sits back again, resting on the ground. Around him, others are finishing the same task. Some have already begun to eat. The sounds are quiet, small movements, soft chewing, the occasional low voice passing between people who sit near one another. He brings the bread closer. For a moment, he simply holds it. The warmth moves into his hands, into his fingers, into the stillness of the morning. Then he begins to eat. Small bites. Slow. There is no rush. The taste is simple. Dry, but filling. Familiar in a way that does not change from day to day. It is not meant to surprise. It is meant to sustain. He chews carefully. Swallows. Then takes another bite. Nearby, someone pours a small amount of water into a cup. The sound is soft, almost blending into the air. When he finishes a portion of the bread, he reaches for water as well. The water is still cool. It moves easily, washing away the dryness, leaving behind a quiet sense of balance. He does not eat all at once. He pauses between bites. He lets the moment stretch. The sun has risen higher now. The light is no longer pale. It has begun to carry warmth. Shadows shorten slowly, though not enough to disappear. The day is opening, but it is still calm. After a while, the bread is gone. Nothing remains. He brushes his hands lightly, removing small traces of grain. Then he sits for a moment longer, doing nothing at all. This is not rest in the way one might think. It is simply a pause. A small space between tasks. The body settles. The breath slows. The mind does not wander far. There is no need. Then, quietly, he rises again. The day continues. There are other duties waiting. He steps away from the fire, now fading slowly. The small flames shrink, leaving behind only warmth and a thin line of smoke that drifts upward and disappears into the widening sky. He moves toward a shaded area beside one of the larger structures nearby. This place is familiar. It is where tools are kept. Where small tasks are prepared before the heavier work of the day begins. The ground here is more compact. Many feet have passed over it, pressing it flat and firm. The shade offers a small relief from the growing warmth of the sun. He reaches for a tool. It is simple. Wood, shaped by hand. Smoothed in places, worn in others. It has been used many times, not only by him, but by others before him. He examines it briefly. Not with curiosity, but with quiet attention. Then he adjusts his grip. There are surfaces to clean. Areas to prepare. Spaces that must be kept in order, even if they are humble. He begins with the ground. Using the tool, he sweeps slowly, gathering loose dust and small debris into soft lines. The movement is gentle, steady, repeating in the same pattern over and over again. The sound is faint. A light brushing against the earth. Back and forth. Again and again. The dust rises slightly, then settles. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced. This work is not heavy, but it is constant. And so he continues. As he moves, the sounds of the settlement shift. Voices grow a little stronger now, though still calm. People move with more purpose. Tasks begin to take shape across the area. Some carry items. Some prepare for travel. Others remain close, tending to their own routines. The servant does not look up often. His focus remains close. On the ground. On the motion. On the steady rhythm of his hands. The sun climbs higher. The air warms further. The shade becomes more valuable now, though it slowly moves as the light shifts across the sky. Sweeping becomes gathering. Gathering becomes clearing. Clearing becomes stillness. When the area feels right, he stops. He places the tool down carefully. Then steps back, just slightly. There is no sign of pride. No moment of admiration. Only the quiet recognition that the task is done. And so, without pause, another begins. He moves toward a low structure nearby, where storage vessels are kept. Clay containers, some large, some small, rest in the shade. They hold grains, dried goods, and other simple supplies needed for the days ahead. He checks them. Not in detail. Just enough. A hand placed lightly on the side. A small adjustment if something is not aligned. A brief look inside one, then another. Everything is as expected. Everything is in its place. The work continues like this. Small task after small task. Each one simple. Each one necessary. Each one blending into the next without clear beginning or end. The morning passes in this quiet rhythm. Not marked by time, but by action. Not measured in hours, but in movements. And through it all, the servant remains steady. Present. Unhurried. Carrying the day forward, one small moment at a time. The morning settles into a steady rhythm. The sun has climbed higher now, and its warmth begins to press gently against the earth. The cool softness of early dawn has faded. In its place, there is a quiet heat, not harsh yet, but slowly growing. The servant moves through this change without resistance. He does not hurry. He does not slow. His pace remains the same, as it has always been. There is another task waiting. He steps beyond the shaded area, into a space where the light falls more directly. The ground here is brighter, the dust lighter in color. Small marks from footsteps cross over one another, forming soft patterns that shift each day. He walks toward a nearby structure, slightly larger than the others. Its walls are thick, built to hold back the heat as much as possible. The entrance is open, but the inside remains dim. A cooler space, where certain work can be done away from the sun. He steps inside. For a moment, his eyes adjust. The brightness outside fades, replaced by a gentle shadow. The air here feels different, still warm, but less exposed. The sounds from outside become softer, as if wrapped in cloth. Inside, a few others are already working. They move quietly, each focused on their own task. There is no need for instruction. Each person knows what must be done. The servant joins them without a word. Near one wall, bundles of materials are stacked neatly. Reeds, fibers, pieces of cloth, all prepared in earlier days, now waiting to be used. He kneels beside one of the bundles. His hands move slowly, separating the fibers. The texture is rough, but familiar. Some pieces bend easily. Others resist slightly before yielding. He begins to sort them. Long pieces to one side. Shorter ones to another. Anything damaged or too brittle is set aside. The work is simple, but it requires attention. He does not rush. Each movement is deliberate. Each choice is quiet and certain. The room remains calm. Only the faint sounds of handling materials, the soft shifting of bodies, and the occasional breath fill the space. Outside, the world continues. But inside, time feels slower. More contained. After a while, he gathers a small group of fibers and begins to weave them together. His fingers move in a practiced pattern. Over. Under. Pull. Adjust. Again. The motion repeats, steady and unbroken. This weaving is not decorative. It is not meant to be seen. It is meant to be used. Perhaps for baskets. Perhaps for mats. Perhaps for simple bindings that hold other things together. The purpose is clear, even if the final shape is not yet complete. As he works, the heat of the day slowly grows. Even inside, it can be felt. Not sharply. Just a gradual increase, like a quiet presence that settles into the skin. He pauses for a moment. Not to rest fully, just to shift his position. He stretches his fingers slightly, then returns to the work. The fibers respond to his touch. They bend. They hold. They become something more than they were before. Time passes like this. Softly. Without notice. Eventually, the small piece he is working on reaches a point where it can be set aside. Not finished completely, but enough for now. He places it gently with the others. Then he stands. The movement is slow, controlled. His body rises without strain, though the hours of quiet work are beginning to settle into his muscles. He steps back toward the entrance. The light outside greets him again. Brighter now. Stronger. The sky is clear, open, stretching endlessly above. The sun sits higher, its warmth spreading across every surface it touches. He steps out. The air feels different here. Warmer. Drier. But still calm. He pauses just outside the doorway. For a brief moment, he looks outward. The settlement is fully awake now. People move steadily between tasks. Some carry goods. Some prepare tools. Others speak in low, measured tones, sharing simple words that pass as easily as the breeze. There is no chaos. No confusion. Only movement. Steady, quiet movement. He turns again. There is more to be done. He walks toward a shaded wall, where a few storage jars stand. One of them has been left slightly uncovered. He notices this without surprise. He steps closer. Places the lid properly. Adjusts its position so that it rests securely. A small action. But important. Everything must remain in order. Everything must be cared for, even in the smallest ways. He steps back. Looks once. Then moves on. The day continues like this. One task flowing into another. No clear beginning. No clear end. Just a steady line of effort, stretching from morning into midday. The sun continues its slow climb. The shadows grow shorter. The air grows warmer. And still, the servant moves through it all with the same quiet presence, carrying out each small duty, just as he always has. The sun now stands higher in the sky. Its light falls more directly upon the earth, and the gentle warmth of the morning has deepened into something heavier, something that rests quietly on the skin and lingers there. The servant feels it, but he does not react. This is not new. This is how every day unfolds. The air has grown drier. The faint traces of coolness from earlier have faded almost completely. Even the breeze, when it comes, carries warmth with it now, moving slowly across the land as if it too has grown tired. He continues walking. Not quickly. Not slowly. Just as before. There is another place he must go. Beyond the cluster of small homes, the ground opens slightly. The soil here is more exposed, less shaded. In the distance, the faint green of cultivated land can be seen, fields that depend on the Nile, fields that rise and fall with its quiet, steady presence. He moves in that direction. The path is familiar. Each step falls naturally into place. Other workers are already there. Some are bending low to the ground. Others carry tools across their shoulders. A few stand briefly in the shade of simple structures made from reeds and wood, taking small pauses before returning to their tasks. No one speaks loudly. The heat does not allow for it. Voices remain low, measured, almost blending into the stillness. The servant reaches the edge of the field. He pauses. Not out of hesitation, but simply to take in the space before him. The earth is dry in some places, darker and softer in others. Lines have been formed across it, subtle patterns left behind by previous work. The scent here is stronger, a mixture of soil, plant life, and the distant presence of water. He steps forward. His feet press lightly into the ground. There is work to be done here. He picks up a simple tool left nearby. Wooden. Worn. Shaped by many hands over time. He grips it without thought. His body already understands what comes next. He begins. The motion is steady. He presses the tool into the earth, breaking the surface just enough to loosen it. The soil responds slowly, giving way under the repeated movement. Again. And again. Each motion is similar to the last. There is no variation. No need for change. Just repetition. The sun watches from above. Unmoving. Constant. Its light stretches across the field, touching every worker equally, settling onto their shoulders, their backs, their hands. Sweat begins to form. Not all at once. Just a thin layer at first. Then more. It moves slowly along the skin, carried by the quiet effort of the body. The servant does not stop. He adjusts slightly. Shifts his weight. Continues. Around him, others move in the same rhythm. Different tasks. Similar motions. Together, they form a quiet pattern across the land, each person working, each movement adding to the slow shaping of the field. Time passes. But it does not feel like time. It feels like motion. Like breath. Like the steady rise and fall of effort. From time to time, someone pauses. Not for long. Just enough to straighten their back, to draw a deeper breath, to wipe their forehead with the edge of a cloth. Then they return. The servant does the same. At one moment, he stops. He stands still. His hands rest lightly at his sides. He looks down at the ground he has worked. There is no judgment. No thought of progress. Only a quiet acknowledgement. Then, after a single breath, he begins again. The earth continues to shift beneath his tool. Small changes. Gradual. Almost unnoticeable from one moment to the next. But over time, they form something more. The sun climbs a little higher. The light grows stronger. The shadows grow faint. The air becomes still. Even the distant sounds seem to soften under the weight of the midday heat. Eventually, the movement slows. Not because the work is finished, but because the body begins to ask for pause. He lowers the tool, places it carefully on the ground, then steps back. There is a shaded area nearby. Simple. Constructed from reeds, offering just enough protection from the direct sun. He walks toward it. Each step feels heavier now, though his pace remains steady. When he reaches the shade, he sits. Slowly. Without urgency. The ground beneath him is warm, but less intense than the open field. The difference is enough. He rests his hands on his knees. His breathing deepens slightly. Not strained. Just fuller. He reaches for a small container of water. Lifts it. Takes a measured drink. The water is no longer cool. But it is still welcome. It moves through him quietly, easing the dryness, bringing a small sense of balance back to the body. Around him, others are resting as well. Some sit in silence. Some lie back, eyes closed, letting the shade hold them for a short while. No one speaks much. The heat does not invite conversation. It invites stillness. And so, for a brief time, everything slows. The work pauses. The movement softens. The day reaches its quiet center. And within that stillness, the servant rests, not fully, not deeply, but enough to continue when the moment passes. The shade holds its quiet comfort for a little while longer. Time does not feel sharp here. It does not move in clear steps. It drifts, like the warm air that settles over the land, like the faint movement of dust that rises and falls without urgency. The servant remains seated. His hands rest loosely. His breathing has slowed again, returning to the same calm rhythm that carries him through each part of the day. Around him, the others are still. Some have closed their eyes, not fully asleep, but resting in that soft space between waking and dreaming. Others sit with their heads slightly lowered, watching nothing in particular, letting the heat pass over them without resistance. The sun remains high. Its light presses down gently, filling the open spaces with brightness. Even in the shade, its presence can be felt, not harsh, but steady and constant. After some time, the servant shifts. It is a small movement. A quiet signal that the pause is ending. He places his hands against the ground and rises slowly to his feet. His body responds without complaint. The rest has been enough. Not complete, but enough. He looks out across the field again. The earth lies waiting. Unchanged. Patient. The tools remain where they were left. The work is still there, exactly as it was before the pause. Nothing has moved forward without him. Nothing has fallen behind. He steps back into the light. The warmth meets him again, wrapping gently around his shoulders and arms. The air feels heavier now, thicker in a way that slows each breath just slightly. But he continues. He reaches for the tool. His hands close around it with quiet familiarity. And once again, he begins. The motion returns. Press. Lift. Shift. Again. Each movement follows the last, forming the same steady pattern as before. There is no change in rhythm, no sudden burst of energy. Only continuation. The field responds slowly. The soil breaks apart, softens, reshapes under the repeated action. Small clumps form and fall away. Lines deepen. Surfaces become more even. Around him, the other workers return to their tasks as well. One by one. Without instruction. Without signal. It simply happens. The quiet pause fades, replaced once again by the low, steady rhythm of work. The afternoon moves forward. The sun begins, almost without notice, its slow journey downward. It is still high, still strong, but its position has begun to change. The light shifts. Not dramatically. Just enough to soften the edges of things. The servant does not look up often. His attention remains close. On the ground. On the movement of his hands. On the quiet repetition that carries him through. From time to time, a breeze passes through the field. It is warm, but it brings motion. It lifts small particles of dust and carries them gently across the surface. It touches the skin lightly, then disappears again. Each time, it leaves behind a brief sense of relief. Then the stillness returns. He continues working. The rhythm becomes almost invisible now, so steady, so consistent that it blends into the background of the day. There is no beginning to each movement. No end. Just a continuous flow. His body moves without thought. His mind remains quiet. There is no need to plan. No need to decide. The work itself is enough. Time passes. The shadows begin to return. Slowly at first. Faint lines stretching across the ground, growing longer with each passing moment. The light softens just slightly, losing the sharpness of midday. The servant pauses again. Just briefly. He stands upright, allowing his back to straighten fully. His hands rest at his sides. He draws in a deeper breath. The air feels different now. Still warm. But changing. He looks across the field. The work he has done blends with the work of others. No single line stands out. No single effort is separate. Everything becomes part of the whole. He lowers his gaze again. And continues. The tool presses into the earth once more. The rhythm resumes. Steady. Quiet. Unbroken. The afternoon moves gently toward evening. Not quickly. Not suddenly. Just a slow, almost unnoticed shift. The sun lowers. The light softens further. The heat begins, very slowly, to ease. And still, the servant works, carrying the day forward with the same calm presence, the same quiet effort, until the moment comes when the work will finally begin to fade. The afternoon begins to soften. It happens so slowly that it is almost impossible to notice at first. The sun, which once stood high and steady, has begun its quiet descent. Its light is no longer as sharp. It spreads more gently now, stretching across the land in longer, softer lines. The heat begins to loosen its hold. Not all at once. Just a slight easing, a quiet release that moves through the air and settles into the body. The servant continues his work. The same motion. The same rhythm. But something has changed. There is a subtle sense that the day is moving toward its end. He does not stop immediately. There is no signal, no call. Only the quiet awareness that comes from many days lived in the same way. The shadows grow longer. They reach across the field, crossing over the lines in the soil, blending shapes together. The ground, once bright and exposed, now carries soft patterns of light and shade. The servant slows. Just slightly. Not enough to break the rhythm, but enough to feel the difference. His hands continue their work, but the movements are less forceful now. The tool presses into the earth with a little less weight, a little more ease. Around him, others are doing the same. The field begins to change. The steady rhythm of work softens, becoming less constant, more spaced. Some workers pause longer between movements. Some stand for a moment, looking out across the land as if quietly measuring what has been done. No one speaks loudly. The calm remains. The servant finally stops. He lifts the tool once more, then lowers it gently to the ground. He places it where it will be found again, in the same place, in the same way. There is no final action. No clear ending. Just a quiet decision. Enough for today. He stands still. His body holds the memory of movement, the repeated effort of hours spent working the earth. His hands are warm, his arms steady, his shoulders carrying a quiet weight. He breathes in. Slowly. The air feels different now. Cooler than before. Not cold, just softer. He turns away from the field. The walk back begins. Each step feels familiar. The path is the same as it was in the morning, but the light has changed it. Where there was brightness, there is now shadow. Where there was heat, there is now a gentle warmth fading into calm. Other workers walk beside him. Some ahead. Some behind. Their footsteps are soft. Their movements unhurried. There is no need to rush now. The work of the day is done. As they move, the sounds of the settlement begin to return. Faint at first. Then clearer. Voices. Soft laughter from a distance. The quiet movement of people returning to their homes, carrying the end of the day with them. The servant walks steadily. His pace does not change. The sky above has begun to shift. The blue is still there, but it is deeper now, touched with the first hints of evening. Near the horizon, a warmer color begins to appear, soft gold, fading into pale orange. The sun lowers further. Its light becomes gentle. Almost quiet. He reaches the edge of the settlement. The small homes stand as they did before, unchanged, waiting. The air here feels calmer. More contained. He steps into the familiar space between the buildings. Dust rises lightly beneath his feet, then settles again. He passes others. A brief glance. A quiet acknowledgement. Nothing more. Words are not needed. He returns to the small home. The doorway is open. The inside is dim once again, though not as dark as it was before dawn. The light from outside enters softly, resting along the floor and walls. He steps inside. The air is still. Cooler than outside. He pauses for a moment, allowing his body to settle into the space. Then he moves again. There are still small tasks to complete. The day is not fully over. He reaches for the water jar. Lifts it slightly. Checks its weight. There is enough. He sets it down again. Nearby, a small area has been prepared for the evening meal. Simple. As always. He kneels. Begins to prepare again, much like in the morning, but slower now, more relaxed. The urgency of the early day is gone. What remains is quiet continuation. Outside, the light continues to fade. The sky shifts further. Gold deepens into orange. Orange softens into a muted red. The edges of the world blur gently as the brightness lowers. Inside, the servant moves with calm precision. Each action small. Each movement unhurried. The fire is lit again. A small flame. A thin line of smoke. The scent rises, familiar and steady. He works without thought. Without resistance. The day, which began in silence, now begins to close in the same way. Slowly. Softly. Without interruption. And as the light continues to fade, the servant carries out these final tasks, preparing for the quiet evening that will soon arrive. The evening settles slowly over the land. It does not arrive all at once. It moves gently, like a soft shadow stretching across the ground, touching each wall, each path, each quiet corner of the settlement. The sky continues to change. The warm colors near the horizon begin to fade, softening into deeper shades. The gold becomes pale. The orange slips into a quiet gray. Above, the blue darkens, growing richer, deeper, preparing for the night that will follow. Inside the small home, the servant remains kneeling near the fire. The flame is small, steady. It flickers gently, never rising too high, never falling too low. Its light moves softly along the walls, creating slow, shifting patterns that seem almost alive in their quiet motion. He continues preparing the evening meal. The process is familiar. Grain. Water. Hands moving slowly, shaping, pressing, forming. There is no need to hurry now. The work of the field is done. What remains is simple. Sustaining. He places the food near the heat. Watches as it begins to change. The scent rises again, warm, plain, grounding. Outside, the sounds of the settlement begin to quiet. The movement slows. Footsteps become less frequent. Voices grow softer, fewer, drifting into the distance until they are no longer heard. A child's voice lingers for a moment somewhere far away, then fades. The servant sits back slightly. The firelight touches his hands, his arms, his face. It is a different kind of warmth now. Gentler. More contained. He waits. There is always waiting. The food slowly becomes ready. The fire does its work without effort. The air inside the home grows still. After some time, he reaches forward. Turns the food once. Then again. Careful. Unhurried. When it is ready, he lifts it away. The motion is quiet. Practiced. He brings it closer. Sits comfortably on the ground. And begins to eat. The same as before. Small bites. Slow chewing. No rush. The taste is familiar. Unchanging. But in this moment, at the end of the day, it feels different. Not better. Not worse. Just enough. He eats in silence. Others nearby do the same. There is no need for conversation. The day has already spoken through their work. Words would only disturb the calm that now settles in. He pauses between bites. Reaches for water. Drinks slowly. The warmth of the day begins to leave his body, replaced by a quiet stillness that spreads gently through his limbs. Outside, the sky grows darker. The last light at the horizon fades almost completely. The first stars begin to appear. Small. Distant. Steady. The air cools. Not sharply, just enough to be felt. A soft change. A quiet shift. Inside, the fire continues to glow. But now, its light feels softer against the growing darkness. The servant finishes his meal. There is nothing left. He places his hands down gently. Brushes away the smallest traces. Then sits still. For a while, he does nothing. This is not work. This is not rest. It is simply being. The body settles. The breath slows. The thoughts, if they come, are light and distant, passing through without staying. Outside, the night deepens. The settlement grows quiet. One by one, small lights fade. Fires burn lower. Voices disappear. Only the soft sounds of the night remain, the distant movement of air, the quiet presence of the river, the faint, almost unnoticeable rhythm of the world at rest. The servant shifts slightly. The day has reached its end. He prepares a place to sleep. The same woven mat. The same ground. Nothing has changed. And yet, everything has moved forward. He lies down slowly. His body lowers with care. The earth beneath him is cool again, holding the memory of the night that has returned. He rests his head. Closes his eyes. His breathing begins to deepen. The weight of the day settles gently over him, not heavy, not uncomfortable, just present. Familiar. Safe. Outside, the stars fill the sky. The Nile continues to flow, unseen but always there. The air moves softly through the night. And within the small, quiet home, the servant drifts slowly toward sleep, carried by the same calm rhythm that will return again with the next morning. The night deepens. The last faint traces of evening have now faded completely, leaving the sky wide and dark once more. The stars seem clearer now, more settled, as if they have fully taken their place above the quiet land. The air has cooled gently. It is not cold, only soft, carrying a calm stillness that rests over everything without effort. Inside the small home, the servant lies still. His body has already begun to release the weight of the day. The steady work, the repeated motions, the long hours beneath the sun, all of it slowly fades into the background of his rest. His breathing is even, slow, unbroken. Around him, others sleep as well. The room holds a quiet warmth, though the earth beneath them has cooled. The woven mats lie flat and familiar, unchanged from night to night, offering the same simple place for rest. Outside, the settlement is silent. No footsteps. No voices. Only the faintest sounds remain. A distant movement of air passing between the walls. The soft shifting of sand somewhere far off. And beyond it all, the Nile continues its quiet flow, steady, unseen, always moving. Time passes without being noticed. The night holds everything in its stillness. There is no rush here. No urgency. Only rest. The servant turns slightly in his sleep. A small movement. Nothing more. His body adjusts naturally, settling into a more comfortable position. The rhythm of his breathing continues, unchanged. The stars remain overhead. The sky does not move quickly. It shifts slowly, almost imperceptibly, as the night carries on. Hours pass in silence. The land rests. The air remains calm. And gradually, very gradually, something begins to change. At first, it is too soft to notice. A slight difference in the darkness. A faint thinning of the deep night near the edge of the horizon. The beginning of another morning. Inside the home, the servant still sleeps. But his body begins to sense it. Not consciously. Not with thought. Just a quiet awareness, shaped by many days lived in the same rhythm. His breathing shifts, only slightly. His body grows lighter, moving closer to waking. Outside, the sky continues its slow transition. The darkness loosens again, just as it did before. The first hint of pale light begins to appear in the distance. The stars remain, but they seem softer now, less sharp against the sky. The air changes too. It becomes just a little cooler, carrying the last calm moments before the warmth returns. The servant stirs. A small breath. A slight movement of his hand. Then stillness again. Not fully awake. Not fully asleep. Between. The quiet space where one day ends and another has not yet begun. The light grows, slowly. The horizon becomes clearer. Shapes begin to form once more. The outlines of buildings, the edges of the land, the distant line of the river, all returning gently from the darkness. Inside, the servant opens his eyes. Not suddenly. Not with effort. Just a soft return to awareness. He does not move right away. He lies still, looking into the dim space around him. The same walls. The same ceiling. The same quiet presence of others nearby. Nothing has changed. And yet, a new day has arrived. He takes a slow breath. Then another. The air feels fresh again, touched by the early morning. He begins to sit up. The woven mat shifts beneath him. The ground is cool once more, just as it was the morning before. For a moment, he pauses. Sitting quietly. Letting the stillness remain. Then, without thought, without hesitation, he prepares to begin again. The same path. The same work. The same quiet rhythm that carries him forward, day after day. Outside, the light continues to grow. The first birds begin to call. The Nile waits. The earth remains. And the servant rises once more, stepping gently into another day that will unfold just as calmly as the one before. The new morning unfolds in the same quiet way. Nothing arrives suddenly. Nothing disturbs the calm. The light simply grows, slowly spreading across touching the edges of walls, the paths between homes, the still forms of those just beginning to wake. The servant sits for a moment longer. This small pause, at the beginning of the day, always feels the same. Not empty, not full, just a gentle space where nothing is required yet. His hands rest loosely at his sides. His breathing is steady. Then, as always, he begins to move. He rises carefully, his body adjusting without resistance. The ground beneath his feet is cool, holding the last memory of the night. This coolness will not last long, but for now, it remains. He steps toward the doorway. Outside, the air feels soft again. The same early calm. The same faint sounds beginning to return. A bird calls from somewhere nearby. Another answers from farther away. The sky is pale, the color of the morning spreading evenly without sharp edges. He steps out. The settlement is waking once more. A figure moves along the path in the distance, carrying a container much like his own. Another bends near a doorway, arranging something on the ground. The movements are quiet, unhurried, almost as if they are part of the same slow breath shared by the entire place. He turns toward the water jar. Lifts it. Feels its lightness. It must be filled again. This task returns every morning. Always the same. Always necessary. He begins the walk toward the Nile. The path is unchanged. His steps fall into the same pattern as before, guided not by thought but by memory held in the body. The ground is firm beneath him, the faint marks of yesterday's movement still visible but already blending into the present. The air carries a slight coolness. A gentle reminder of the night that has just passed. Other workers move along the same path. Some ahead. Some behind. No one rushes. No one lingers too long. The rhythm of the day is shared, even in silence. He reaches the river. The Nile flows as it always does. Calm. Steady. Unchanging. Its surface reflects the soft light of the morning, moving gently with the current that never stops. He kneels. Places the jar into the water. The sound is quiet. A soft filling, a hollow echo that fades almost immediately. He lifts it again. Now heavy. Now complete. He stands. For a brief moment, he looks out across the river. There is no thought attached to this moment. No question. No reflection. Just seeing. Then he turns. The walk back begins again. Each step measured. Each movement familiar. The sun begins to rise behind him, slowly warming the land once more. He returns to the settlement. Places the jar where it belongs. And without pause, he begins the next task. The grinding stone waits. The grain is prepared. He kneels once more, just as he did the day before. His hands take hold of the tool. And the motion begins again. back and forth. Steady. Quiet. The same soft sound fills the air. Stone against stone. Grain breaking down. Time passing without being counted. Around him, the same rhythm repeats. Others working. Others moving. Each person following their own quiet pattern, yet all part of the same gentle flow. The sun rises higher. The light grows stronger. The coolness fades. And still, the servant continues, just as he always does. Not thinking of the past. Not looking toward the future. Only moving through the present moment, one small task at a time. The grain softens. The motion slows. Then stops. He gathers the result. Moves toward the small fire. Prepares the morning meal once more. The same process. The same careful hands. The same quiet waiting. The day unfolds again, almost unchanged. And yet, within that sameness, there is a quiet comfort. A steady rhythm that does not break. A life that moves gently forward, without interruption. And as the sun continues its slow climb, the servant remains within that rhythm, beginning another day that will pass as softly as the last. The morning continues to unfold, just as it has many times before. The small fire glows softly. Its warmth spreads gently outward, touching the air, the ground, the servant's hands as he works. The scent of the grain, now warming once again, rises slowly and quietly, blending with the dry smell of earth that never fully leaves this place. He watches the food as it cooks. Not closely. Not with concern. Only with a calm awareness that comes from repetition. He turns it once. Then waits. The flame moves slightly, shifting with the faintest breath of air that passes through the space. The smoke rises in a thin line, drifting upward before fading into nothing. Around him, the settlement has fully awakened again. Footsteps move along the paths. Soft voices pass between people. A low murmur of life, steady and even, fills the air without ever becoming loud. He lifts the bread when it is ready. The motion is smooth. Practiced. He sits. Begins to eat. As always, slowly. Small bites. Careful chewing. No hurry. The taste remains the same. Plain. Familiar. But there is a quiet comfort in that sameness. A kind of stability that does not change. He pauses between bites. Reaches for water. Drinks. The balance returns again, simple and complete. When the food is gone, he does not rise immediately. He remains seated for a moment. Still. This pause, like all the others, is not planned. It simply happens. A natural space between one task and the next. The sun continues to rise. The light grows stronger. The shadows begin to shorten. The warmth increases, slowly but steadily. After a time, he stands. There is more work to be done. Always more. He moves toward the shaded area where tools are kept. The ground here is already warm, though not yet hot. The shade offers a small comfort, a place where the light softens and the air feels just a little easier to breathe. He picks up a familiar tool. Runs his hand along its surface briefly. Not to inspect. Only to feel. Then he begins. Sweeping. The same gentle motion as before. Back and forth. Gathering dust. Clearing the ground. The sound is soft. Barely there. A quiet brushing that blends into the morning. He moves slowly. There is no need for speed. The work will be done in time. It always is. Around him, others continue their own tasks. Some carry bundles. Some prepare materials. Some move between spaces, their footsteps light and unhurried. The settlement feels alive, but not busy. Active, but never rushed. The servant continues sweeping. The dust shifts. Small lines form, then disappear. Nothing remains for long. The ground returns to its quiet stillness. When the area is clear, he sets the tool aside. There is no signal that the task is complete. Only a quiet knowing. He steps away. Moves toward the storage jars again. They stand in their usual place. Still. Silent. He checks them lightly. A hand placed here. A small adjustment there. Everything remains as it should be. The routine holds. Nothing changes. And in that lack of change, there is a certain calm. He moves on. The day continues to open. The sun rises higher. The air warms further. The softness of morning begins to fade into the steady presence of midday. He walks once more toward the outer edge of the settlement. Toward the fields. The same path. The same ground beneath his feet. The same quiet understanding of what awaits. Other workers move alongside him. No one speaks much. There is no need. The work ahead is known to all. He reaches the field. Pauses briefly. Then steps forward. The tool is there. Waiting. He lifts it. Begins again. Press. Lift. Shift. The same rhythm returns. The same steady motion. The earth responds slowly, just as before. The sun climbs higher. The warmth deepens. The day moves forward. And the servant continues, quietly, steadily, without interruption, carrying the rhythm of his life through another morning that feels both new and exactly the same. The morning moves gently toward midday. The sun rises higher, settling into its place above the land. Its light is no longer soft and angled. It now falls more directly, spreading evenly across the fields, across the small homes, across every quiet path that connects them. The servant continues his work. The same motion. Press. Lift. Shift. The tool meets the earth with a steady rhythm. The soil gives way slowly, breaking apart in small pieces, reshaping under his hands. There is no change in pace. No sudden effort. Only continuation. The air grows warmer. The last traces of morning coolness fade completely now. What remains is a steady heat, not harsh, but present in every movement, every breath. Sweat forms again. At first, just a thin layer. Then more. It moves slowly along his skin, carried by the quiet work of the body. He does not stop. He adjusts slightly. Shifts his weight from one foot to the other. Continues. Around him, the same rhythm spreads across the field. Other workers move in their own steady patterns. Some bend low, hands close to the ground. Others stand, using tools much like his. Each person works in silence or near silence, their movements blending into one quiet, shared effort. The field itself begins to change. Not all at once, but gradually. The surface softens. Lines deepen. Small areas become smoother, more prepared for what will come next. Time passes in motion. There is no need to measure it. The sun continues its slow climb. The light grows stronger. The shadows shrink until they are barely visible beneath the feet. The servant pauses. Just for a moment. He straightens his back. Lets his arms rest. Draws in a deeper breath. The air feels heavier now. Warmer. Still. He looks down at the ground. At the work that has been done. There is no judgment. No thought of how much remains. Only a quiet awareness. Then, after a single breath, he begins again. The tool returns to the earth. The rhythm resumes. Steady. Unbroken. The heat continues to build. The air holds stillness within it, as if even the wind has slowed under the weight of the sun. From time to time, a faint breeze passes through. It is warm, but it moves. It touches the skin lightly, then fades. Each time, it brings a small sense of relief. Then the stillness returns. The servant continues. His movements are unchanged. His pace remains even. The work does not rush him. He does not rush the work. They move together. The sun reaches its highest point. Midday. The light is at its fullest now. Bright. Wide. Unyielding. The ground reflects the warmth upward, adding to the quiet weight of the air. The servant slows. Not suddenly. Just a gentle easing. The motion becomes less frequent. The pauses between movements grow slightly longer. Around him, others begin to do the same. The rhythm of the field softens. The steady pattern of work begins to loosen. Some workers stand fully upright. Some rest their tools against the ground. Some begin to move toward the shaded areas nearby. There is no signal. No command. Only the shared understanding that this is the time to pause. The servant lowers his tool. Places it carefully on the earth. He stands still for a moment. Breathes. The heat settles around him. Then he turns. Walks slowly toward the shade. The structure is simple. Reeds and wood arranged to block the direct light. It offers just enough protection. Just enough relief. He steps inside. The difference is immediate. The air feels softer. Less heavy. The light becomes muted, filtered through the simple covering above. He sits. Slowly. The ground beneath him is warm, but not intense. He rests his hands on his knees. His breathing deepens slightly. Not strained. Just fuller. Around him, others sit as well. Some close their eyes. Some remain still, looking at nothing in particular. No one speaks much. The heat does not ask for words. It asks for stillness. He reaches for water. Lifts the container. Drinks. The water is no longer cool, but it is enough. It moves through him quietly, easing the dryness, bringing a small balance back to the body. He lowers it again. Then sits. Still. The world slows. The movement of the morning fades. The work pauses. The air holds everything in a quiet, steady calm. And for this short time, the servant rests once more, held gently in the still center of the day, before the slow return of movement begins again. The stillness of midday lingers for a while. It does not end suddenly. It slowly loosens, like a gentle breath being released into the air. The shade continues to hold its quiet comfort, while outside, the sun remains high, steady, and bright. The servant sits without moving. His body is at rest, but not asleep. His breathing remains slow and even. The warmth of the day surrounds him, yet here in the shade, it feels softer, more distant. Around him, the others remain quiet as well. Some shift slightly. A hand moves. A shoulder rolls. Small motions, barely noticeable, as if the body is preparing to return. Time passes gently. There is no signal to rise. No voice to call them back. Only the quiet understanding that the pause will end, just as it always does. The servant inhales a little more deeply. Then exhales. His hands press lightly against the ground. And he begins to stand. The movement is slow. Controlled. His body responds without strain, though the memory of the morning's work still rests in his muscles. He looks outward. The light remains strong, but something has begun to change. It is very subtle. The sun has shifted just slightly from its highest point. The day has begun its quiet turn toward afternoon. He steps out from the shade. The warmth meets him again. But it feels different now. Not stronger. Just settled. He walks back toward the field. The same path. The same ground beneath his feet. Other workers move with him. No one speaks. There is no need. The work is waiting. And so they return. He reaches the place where he left his tool. It rests exactly where it was placed. Unmoved. Patient. He bends. Lifts it once more. And begins again. The motion returns easily. Press. Lift. Shift. The earth responds in the same quiet way. The rhythm rebuilds itself, just as it did in the morning. Not forced. Not hurried. Simply continuing. The field holds the marks of earlier work. Lines in the soil. Areas softened and shaped. He adds to them. One movement at a time. The sun slowly lowers. Its light begins to soften again, though only slightly for now. The shadows, once nearly gone, begin to return in faint lines beneath the feet. A breeze passes through. A little more noticeable now. It carries warmth, but also movement, a quiet reminder that the day is slowly changing. The servant continues. His pace remains steady. His focus remains close. There is no thought of how long remains. No counting of time. Only the work. From time to time, he pauses briefly. Straightens his back. Draws a breath. Then returns. Each pause is short. Each return is natural. The afternoon stretches quietly. The light shifts little by little. The heat begins, almost imperceptibly, to ease. The air feels less heavy. More open. Around him, the others move in the same way. The same pattern. The same quiet repetition. The field becomes a place of soft, continuous motion, each worker part of a larger rhythm that does not need to be spoken. The servant presses the tool into the earth again. And again. Each movement blends into the next. There is no clear beginning. No clear end. Only the steady flow of effort. The shadows grow longer. Just slightly. Enough to notice if one looks closely. The color of the light begins to change. Still bright. But warmer. Softer. He pauses once more. Stands still. Looks across the field. The work stretches out before him, but it no longer feels endless. The day has moved forward. The end is not far. He lowers his gaze again. And continues. The rhythm slows, just a little. The pauses grow slightly longer. The movements softer. Around him, the same change spreads. The field grows quieter. The steady sounds of work begin to fade. One by one, Workers slow. Some stop. Some finish a final movement before lowering their tools. The servant completes one last motion. Then another. Then he stops. He places the tool down carefully. The same way he always does. There is no final moment. No clear line that marks the end. Only a quiet knowing. Enough for today. He stands. Still. Breathes. The air feels different now. Cooler. Lighter. The sun has begun its descent toward the horizon. The afternoon is gently giving way to evening. He turns. And begins the walk back. The walk back from the field is quiet. The servant moves along the same path, but the world around him has softened. The light is no longer strong and direct. It stretches gently across the, casting long, calm shadows that move with each step he takes. The air feels different now. Lighter. Easier to breathe. The heat of the day has begun to fade, leaving behind a gentle warmth that no longer presses against the body. Other workers walk nearby. Some slightly ahead. Some behind. Their steps are slow, unhurried, as if day itself is guiding them back. No one speaks loudly. There is only the faint sound of footsteps, the soft movement of cloth, the quiet presence of people returning from their work. The servant continues. His hands are empty now. His shoulders carry only the memory of the day. He does not rush. There is no reason to. The work has been left behind, resting in the field until tomorrow. The sky begins to change again. Near the horizon, a soft golden color spreads outward. It touches the tops of the homes, the edges of the path, the distant line of the Nile. The blue above deepens. The colors blend slowly, without sharp lines. The servant reaches the edge of the settlement. The small homes stand quietly, just as they did before. Their walls hold the warmth of the day, releasing it slowly into the cooling air. He steps between them. Dust rises lightly beneath his feet, then settles again. The sounds of the settlement return. Soft voices. A faint call from one home to another. The quiet movement of people beginning their evening routines. He passes others. A small glance. A slight nod. Nothing more. There is no need for words. The day has already been shared through work. He reaches the doorway of his home. Steps inside. The air is still. Cooler than outside. The light enters softly, no longer bright, but gentle and low. He pauses. Just for a moment. Letting the stillness settle around him. Then he moves. There are a few tasks left. Always a few. He checks the water jar. Lifts it slightly. Feels its weight. There is enough for now. He sets it back down. Near the wall, the place for the evening meal is already familiar. Simple. Unchanged. He kneels. Begins again. The same process. Grain. Water. Hands moving slowly, shaping what will become the last meal of the day. The fire is lit. A small flame. A quiet glow. Smoke rises in a thin line, drifting upward before fading into the dim air. He places the food near the heat. Waits. The scent begins to form again. Warm. Plain. Comforting in its sameness. Outside, the light continues to fade. The golden color deepens. Then softens. The sky moves gently toward evening. Inside, the servant sits back. Watches the fire. His movements are slower now. Not from tiredness alone, but from the natural slowing that comes at the end of the day. Everything eases. Everything softens. The fire flickers. The shadows on the walls move slowly, quietly shifting with the flame. The world feels smaller now, contained within this simple space. After some time, he leans forward, turns the food, adjusts it slightly, then waits again. There is no urgency. The night will come. The meal will be ready. Everything follows its place. The sounds outside begin to quiet. Footsteps become fewer. Voices grow softer. The settlement settles into itself. The servant reaches forward once more. Lifts the food. The motion is gentle. He brings it closer. Sits. Begins to eat. Slowly. The same as before. Small bites. Careful chewing. The taste does not change. But the feeling of the moment does. The day is ending. The work is done. What remains is stillness. He pauses between bites. Drinks water. The air continues to cool. The light continues to fade. Outside, the first stars begin to appear once more. Small. Steady. Quiet. He finishes his meal. Places his hands down. Brushes them lightly. Then sits. Still. The fire glows softly beside him. The walls hold the last warmth of the day. The night begins to settle fully. And within this quiet moment, the servant rests, not yet asleep, not working, simply present as the world around him gently grows calm again. The night returns slowly. It does not fall all at once. It gathers, gently and quietly, wrapping itself around the settlement, softening every edge, dimming every shape. The last light fades from the sky. The warm colors near the horizon disappear, leaving behind a deep, calm blue that soon turns to darkness. Above, the stars begin to spread once more, small and steady, filling the wide sky without sound. Inside the home, the servant remains seated for a while. The fire beside him has grown smaller now. Its flame is lower, its movement slower. It no longer reaches outward with warmth, but holds it close, offering only a gentle glow that flickers against the walls. He does not move much. The day has settled into his body. The work. The walking. The quiet repetition of many small tasks. All of it rests within him now, no longer active, no longer moving, just present. He takes a slow breath. Then another. The air feels cooler. Softer. Outside, the settlement grows still. The last voices fade. The final footsteps pass and disappear. Doors close gently. And silence begins to take its place. Not complete silence, but something close to it. A quiet filled only by the smallest sounds. The distant movement of the night air. The soft, steady flow of the Nile, far away but always there. The servant shifts slightly. He reaches forward and adjusts the remains of the fire. Not to make it grow. Only to let it settle safely. The flame lowers further. The glow softens. The shadows in the room become deeper. Then he prepares for rest. The same woven mat. The same place on the ground. Nothing changes. He lies down slowly. Carefully. His body lowers into the familiar position, guided not by thought but by habit formed over many nights. The ground beneath him is cool again. It holds the quiet comfort of the earth, steady and unchanged. He rests his head. Closes his eyes. For a moment, he remains awake. Not fully thinking. Not fully drifting. Just present in the stillness. His breathing begins to slow. Inhale. Exhale. Each breath softer than the last. The weight of the day begins to fade. The small tensions in his muscles release. His hands grow still. Outside, the stars remain. The sky stretches wide and endless, just as it did the night before. The air moves gently through the settlement, passing between the homes, over the, carrying with it the calm of the night. Time passes quietly. Unnoticed. The servant drifts deeper. Sleep comes without effort. Without resistance. It simply arrives. His breathing settles into a steady rhythm. Slow. Even. Unbroken. Around him, others sleep as well. The entire settlement rests. No movement. No sound beyond the faint presence of the night itself. The Nile continues to flow. Always moving. Always steady. The stars remain in place. Unchanging. The night holds everything gently. And within that quiet, the servant sleeps, carried once again into rest, as the world around him remains calm, waiting patiently for the first light of another day. The night holds its quiet for a long time. Nothing disturbs it. The air remains still, soft against the sky above stays deep and wide, filled with steady stars that do not flicker or rush. Everything feels settled, as if the world itself has paused to rest. Inside the small home, the servant sleeps. His body is completely still now. The slow rhythm of his breathing continues, rising and falling gently, like the calm flow of the Nile far in the distance. There is no tension left from the day. No movement. Only rest. Around him, the others remain asleep as well. The room is quiet. The walls hold the last faint memory of warmth, though the air has cooled further during the long hours of night. The woven mats lie flat beneath them, simple and unchanged, offering the same quiet place for sleep. Outside, time passes. But it does not feel like passing. There are no markers. No sounds to divide one moment from the next. Only the steady presence of the night. A faint breeze moves once, gently. It touches brushes against the sides of the homes, and slips away again without leaving a trace. The Nile continues its endless movement. Unseen. Unheard, except for the softest suggestion of sound far away. It does not stop. It does not change. It simply flows. The servant shifts slightly in his sleep. A small movement of the hand. A quiet adjustment of his head. Then stillness again. The body finding comfort without waking. Hours pass in this way. Slow. Unbroken. The stars begin, very gradually, to fade. Not all at once. Just a soft dimming, almost impossible to notice unless one is watching closely. The sky begins to change. Deep black softens into a quieter shade. A hint of gray appears at the far edge of the horizon. The first sign that the night will not last forever. Inside, the servant remains asleep. But his body begins to sense the change. The rhythm of his breathing shifts slightly. Not enough to wake him. Only enough to move him closer to that quiet space between sleep and waking. The air changes too. It becomes just a little cooler for a brief moment, holding the final breath of the night before the warmth returns. Outside, the shapes of the land begin to form again. Faint outlines. Barely visible. The edges of the homes. The lines of the paths. The distant suggestion of the river. All returning slowly from the darkness. The stars fade further. The sky lightens. Softly. Gently. Inside the home, the servant takes a deeper breath. Then another. His body begins to rise toward waking. Not suddenly. Not with effort. Just naturally. As it has done so many times before. He moves slightly. His fingers shift. His head turns just a little. Then stillness again. For a moment, he remains between two states. Not fully asleep. Not fully awake. The quiet space where the night is ending, and the day has not yet begun. The light grows. The horizon becomes clearer. The begins to take shape once more. Inside, the servant opens his eyes. Slowly. Without urgency. He looks into the dim space around him. The same walls. The same ceiling. The same quiet presence of others nearby. Nothing has changed. Everything is the same. And yet, a new day has arrived. He does not move immediately. He remains lying there, watching the soft light enter the room. His breathing is calm. His body feels rested, though the memory of the day before still lingers quietly within him. After a moment, he begins to sit up. The woven mat shifts slightly beneath him. The ground is cool again. Familiar. Comforting in its steadiness. He pauses. Just for a breath. Then another. Then he stands. Slowly. Carefully. He steps toward the doorway. Outside, the air greets him once more. Cool. Soft. The first sounds of morning begin again. A bird calls. Another answers. The sky is pale. The light gentle. The world is waking. And without thought, without hesitation, the servant prepares to begin again, stepping quietly into another day that will follow the same calm rhythm, the same steady flow, as all the days before it. The morning begins again in silence. The light is soft and pale, spreading slowly across touching each wall, each doorway, each quiet space between the homes. It does not rush. It does not demand attention. It simply arrives. The servant stands just outside the doorway. For a moment, he does nothing. He looks out across the settlement as it gently wakes. The shapes are clearer now. The paths are visible again. The air carries that same early stillness, the calm space before the day fully begins. He breathes in. The air feels fresh. Cool. Unchanged from the mornings before. Then, as always, he turns toward his first task. The water jar rests where it was left. He lifts it. Feels its lightness. It must be filled again. This need does not change. This task does not disappear. It returns with every morning. He begins the walk toward the Nile. His steps are steady. The ground beneath him is familiar, marked by many days of the same journey. The path holds no surprises. Each turn, each small uneven place, is known to his body without thought. Around him, others are moving in the same direction. Some carry jars. Some walk with empty hands. Their movements are quiet, their pace unhurried. No one speaks loudly. The morning holds them in its calm. He continues. The sky above shifts from pale to soft blue. The first warmth of the sun begins to touch though it is still gentle, still distant. He reaches the river. The Nile flows as it always has. Calm. Steady. Endless. Its surface reflects the growing light, moving slowly with the current that never stops. He kneels. lowers the jar into the water. The sound is soft. A quiet filling. The water rises within the clay, replacing the empty space. He lifts it again. Now heavy. Now complete. He stands. For a moment, he looks across the river. There is no thought behind the gaze. No question. Only a quiet presence. Then he turns. The walk back begins. Step by step. The same path. The same rhythm. The sun rises a little higher behind him, warming the land slowly. He returns to the settlement. Places the jar in its place. Then moves on. There is no pause. The next task is already waiting. The grinding stone. The grain. He kneels beside it once more. His hands find the tool. The motion begins again. Back and forth. Steady. Even. The soft sound of stone against stone fills the air. It is a quiet sound. A constant one. Around him, others repeat the same task. The same motion. The same rhythm. Together, they create a gentle pattern that moves through the morning. The grain begins to change. Slowly breaking down. Becoming finer. Softer. His movements remain unchanged. There is no need to adjust. The body knows what to do. Time passes without being counted. The sun rises higher. The light grows stronger. The coolness begins to fade. But the rhythm remains. Unbroken. When the grain is ready, he slows. Then stops. He gathers it carefully. Nothing is wasted. Every small amount matters. He moves toward the small fire. Prepares it. Lights it. The flame appears softly, growing just enough to do its work. He mixes the grain with water. His hands move slowly. Shaping. Forming. The same simple process. The same quiet repetition. He places it near the heat. Then waits. The fire flickers. The scent rises. Warm. Familiar. He sits back. Watching. Breathing. The morning continues around him. The settlement grows more active. Footsteps pass. Voices drift. But everything remains calm. Nothing disturbs the steady flow. When the food is ready, he lifts it. Sits. Begins to eat. Slowly. Small bites. The same as always. The taste does not change. But the moment feels complete. He pauses between bites. Drinks water. The balance returns. The body is ready again. When he finishes, he sits for a moment. Still. The pause returns. Brief. Quiet. Then he rises. The day moves forward. The tasks continue. The sun climbs. The warmth grows. And the servant steps once more into the steady rhythm of work, carrying the day forward with the same calm presence, the same quiet motion that has guided him through so many mornings before. The morning slowly deepens. The sun continues its quiet climb, rising higher into the open sky. Its light grows stronger, spreading across with a steady warmth that begins to settle into everything it touches. The servant moves into the next part of his day. There is no signal. No clear beginning. Only the natural flow from one task into another. He walks toward the shaded area where tools are kept. The ground beneath his feet is warming now, though it still holds a trace of the morning's coolness. Each step is familiar. Each movement follows the same quiet pattern as before. He reaches the tools. Pauses for a brief moment. Then chooses one without thought. His hand closes around it easily. The shape fits into his palm as if it has always belonged there. He turns. Moves toward the open space beside the homes. There is dust here. Light. Fine. It rests on the surface of the ground, shifting slightly with every step, rising and settling in soft, quiet motions. He begins to sweep. Back and forth. The same gentle rhythm. The tool brushes across gathering the dust into small lines. The sound is barely there, a soft, steady whisper that blends into the air. He does not hurry. There is no need. The work will be done. It always is. Around him, the settlement continues to wake fully. More people are moving now. Carrying items. Preparing for their own tasks. But even with this movement, the calm remains. Voices stay low. Footsteps stay soft. Nothing breaks the quiet rhythm of the morning. The servant continues sweeping. The dust gathers. Then disappears as it is moved aside. The ground becomes smoother. Clearer. Ready for the day ahead. When the space feels right, he stops. There is no sign. No final mark. Only a quiet knowing. He sets the tool down. Steps back. Then turns toward the storage jars. They stand in their usual place. Still. Silent. He checks them. A light touch here. A small adjustment there. The lids are secure. The contents undisturbed. Everything remains in order. He moves on. The day continues. The sun rises higher. The warmth increases. The air begins to feel heavier, though still not as strong as it will become. He walks toward the outer edge of the settlement. Toward the fields once more. The path stretches ahead of him. Familiar. Unchanging. Other workers move alongside him. Their pace matches his. No one leads. No one follows. They simply move together. He reaches the field. Pauses. Then steps forward. The tool waits. He lifts it. Begins again. Press. Lift. Shift. The same motion returns. The same steady rhythm. The earth responds slowly. Breaking. Softening. Changing shape beneath his hands. The sun climbs. The light grows stronger. The shadows shorten. The air becomes still. Sweat begins to form again. A thin layer at first. Then more. It moves slowly across his skin, carried by the quiet effort of the work. He continues. Unchanged. Around him, the same rhythm spreads. Each worker moving in their own quiet pattern, yet all connected through the same steady flow. The field begins to change once more. Small areas shift. Lines deepen. The work moves forward, one movement at a time. There is no need to think. No need to plan. The body knows. The rhythm guides him. Time passes. Unnoticed. The sun rises higher still. The warmth deepens. The air holds stillness within it. The servant pauses. Just briefly. He straightens his back. Draws in a slow breath. Then returns. The motion continues. Press. Lift. Shift. Again. And again. The day moves gently toward midday once more, repeating its quiet pattern, its steady rhythm, its calm and unbroken flow. The day slowly reaches its highest point. The sun stands above, steady and unmoving, its light falling directly onto the softness of the morning has now fully faded. In its place, there is a quiet, steady heat, not sharp, not sudden, but present in every breath, every movement. The servant continues his work in the field. The same motion. Press. Lift. Shift. Each movement flows into the next, forming a rhythm that no longer needs attention. His hands move as they have many times before. His body follows without hesitation. The earth responds slowly beneath him. Breaking apart. Softening. Changing shape. The work continues. The air grows still. Even the faint breeze that passed earlier has quieted. The space feels full, as if the warmth itself has settled into every part of the land. Sweat forms again. A thin layer across his skin. It moves slowly, carried by the quiet effort of the body. He does not stop. He does not rush. He continues. Around him, the other workers move in the same way. Their motions are steady. Their pace unchanged. Together, they create a soft pattern across the field, a quiet repetition that rises and falls with the rhythm of the day. The sun climbs no higher. It has reached its place. Midday. The light is full. Wide. Even. The ground reflects the warmth upward, adding to the stillness of the air. The servant begins to slow. Not suddenly. Just a gentle easing. The pauses between movements grow longer. The pressure of the tool softens. His breathing deepens slightly. He lifts the tool once more. Presses it into the earth. Then stops. He stands. Still. His hands rest at his sides. He takes a slow breath. The air feels heavy, but calm. He looks down at the ground. At the work that has been done. There is no judgment. No thought of what remains. Only a quiet awareness. Around him, others begin to pause as well. One by one. The rhythm of the field softens. Movements become less frequent. Tools are lowered. Bodies straighten. There is no signal. No voice calling them to rest. Only the shared understanding that this moment has come. The servant lowers his tool. Places it carefully on the earth. The same way he always does. Then he turns. The shaded area waits nearby. A simple structure. Reeds and wood. Just enough to block the direct light. He walks toward it. His steps are steady, though the weight of the day rests quietly in his body. He enters the shade. The difference is immediate. The light softens. The air feels lighter. The warmth, though still present, no longer presses as strongly. He sits. Slowly. His hands rest on his knees. His breathing becomes deeper. Calmer. Around him, others sit as well. Some close their eyes. Some remain still, watching nothing in particular. No one speaks. The heat does not call for words. It calls for stillness. The servant reaches for water. He lifts the container. Drinks. The water is warm now. But it is enough. It moves through him quietly, easing the dryness, bringing a small balance back to his body. He lowers it again. Then sits. Still. The world slows. The movement of the morning fades completely. The work pauses. The air holds everything in a quiet, steady calm. Time passes gently. Unnoticed. The servant does not sleep. But he rests. His body settles. His breath remains even. The heat lingers outside, but here, in the shade, there is a small space of relief. The day holds this moment for a while. A pause. A quiet center. And within it, the servant remains, still, calm, and at rest, until the time comes to rise once more and continue. The stillness of midday begins to ease. It does not end suddenly. It softens, slowly, like a long breath gently released into the warm air. The shade remains calm, but something has shifted. The moment of pause has begun to pass. The servant sits quietly for a little longer. His body has rested. Not fully. Not deeply. But enough. His breathing remains steady. His hands rest loosely. Around him, the others begin to move again. A slight shift. A quiet adjustment. Someone rises. Another follows. There is no signal. No call. Only the quiet understanding that the work will continue. The servant inhales. Then exhales. He places his hands against the ground. And slowly, he stands. His body responds without resistance, though the memory of the morning's labor still lingers in his muscles. He steps out from the shade. The sunlight meets him again. It is still warm, but no longer at its peak. The heat feels settled now, less pressing, more even. He walks back toward the field. The same path. The same ground beneath his feet. Other workers move alongside him. Their pace is steady. Unhurried. The work waits, just as it was left. Nothing has changed. He reaches his place. The tool rests on the earth. He bends. Lifts it. And begins again. Press. Lift. Shift. The rhythm returns. Quiet. Steady. Unbroken. The earth responds once more. Softening. Breaking. Shaping under his hands. The afternoon begins to stretch. The sun moves slowly downward. Its light begins, almost imperceptibly, to soften. The shadows return. Faint at first. Then a little longer. The air changes too. Still warm. But more open. A light breeze passes through. It carries warmth, but also movement, a gentle flow that touches the skin and fades. The servant continues. His pace remains even. His movements unchanged. There is no thought of the hours ahead. No counting of time. Only the steady motion of the work itself. Around him, others move in the same way. Each person following the same quiet rhythm. Each movement blending into the next. The field becomes a place of soft repetition, a quiet pattern that stretches across the land. Time passes. The sun lowers further. The light grows warmer. More golden. The shadows lengthen. Stretching crossing over the lines formed by the day's work. The servant pauses. Just for a moment. He straightens his back. Draws a deeper breath. The air feels different now. Lighter. Cooler. He looks across the field. The work spreads out before him, blending with the efforts of others. No single mark stands alone. Everything becomes part of the whole. He lowers his gaze. Returns to the work. Press. Lift. Shift. Again. The rhythm slows slightly. Not enough to stop. But enough to feel the change. The day is moving forward. The end is approaching. Around him, the same shift begins. Some workers pause longer. Some begin to finish their final movements. The steady sound of work grows softer, less frequent. The servant completes another motion, then another. Then he stops. He lowers the tool, places it carefully on the ground, the same way he always does. There is no clear ending, no final moment, only a quiet understanding. Enough for today. He stands still, breathes. The air is softer now, the warmth fading, the light gentle. He turns and begins the walk back. The path back from the field is calm. The servant walks without hurry, his steps falling softly against the dust beneath his feet lifts just slightly, then settles again, leaving no lasting mark behind. The light has changed. The sun is lower now, no longer strong and direct. Its glow spreads gently across the land, warm and golden, stretching long shadows that move slowly with each passing moment. The air feels easier, cooler than before. Not cold, just softer. The weight of the day has begun to lift. Other workers move along the path as well. Some ahead, some behind. All walking in the same quiet rhythm, returning from the same steady work. No one rushes. No one lingers too long. The movement is natural, shared without words. There are small sounds. Footsteps. Cloth shifting with motion. A faint breath carried by the air. Nothing more. The servant continues. His hands are empty now. His body carries the quiet memory of the day, the repeated motion, the warmth of the sun, the steady effort that has filled the hours. He does not think of it. He simply moves. The sky above deepens in color. The blue grows richer. Near the horizon, a soft gold spreads outward, touching the tops of the homes, the edges of the paths, the distant line where the land meets the sky. The servant reaches the edge of the settlement. The homes stand quietly, unchanged. Their walls hold the last warmth of the day, releasing it slowly into the cooling air. He steps between them. The space feels familiar, safe in its sameness. Dust rises lightly beneath his feet, then settles again. The sounds of the settlement return. Soft voices, low and calm. A quiet call from one place to another. The gentle movement of people beginning their evening routines. He passes others. A brief glance. A small nod. Nothing more. There is no need for conversation. The day has already been shared through work. He reaches his home. The doorway is open. The inside is dim, touched by the fading light from outside. He steps in. The air is still, cooler than the open space beyond. He pauses, just for a moment, letting the stillness settle around him. Then he moves again. There are still small tasks to complete. The day has not fully ended. He walks toward the water jar, lifts it slightly, feels its weight. There is enough. He sets it back down. Nearby, the place for the evening meal waits. Simple, unchanged. He kneels, begins to prepare again. The same process. Grain, water, hands moving slowly, shaping, forming. The fire is lit. A small flame appears. Quiet, steady. It flickers gently, casting soft light across the walls. The servant places the food near the heat, then sits back, waits. There is no urgency. The day is ending. Everything moves more slowly now. Outside, the light continues to fade. The gold softens. The sky deepens. The first signs of night begin to appear. Inside, the fire glows. The scent of the food rises again. Warm. Familiar. Comforting in its simplicity. The servant watches. His movements are slower now. Not from effort, but from the natural quiet that comes at the end of the day. After some time, he leans forward. Turns the food. Adjusts it slightly. Then waits again. The fire continues its work. The world grows quieter. Footsteps outside become fewer. Voices fade. The settlement settles into calm. When the food is ready, he lifts it. The motion is gentle. He sits. Begins to eat. Slowly. Small bites. The same as before. The taste does not change. But the feeling of the moment does. The work is finished. The day has passed. What remains is stillness. He pauses between bites. Drinks water. The air cools further. The light fades almost completely. Outside, the first stars appear. Small. Distant. Steady. He finishes his meal. Places his hands down. Brushes them lightly. Then sits. Still. The fire glows softly beside him. The walls hold the last warmth. The night begins to settle fully. And within this quiet moment, the servant rests, gently carried into the calm of evening, as the world around him prepares once more for sleep. The night settles in fully once more. The last light of day has disappeared, leaving the sky deep and wide. The stars have returned, scattered across the darkness in quiet stillness. They do not move quickly. They do not change. They simply remain, soft and constant above the silent land. Inside the small home, the servant sits for a little while longer. The fire beside him has grown low. Its flame is small now, almost resting, its light no longer reaching far. It flickers gently, casting slow shadows that move across the walls and then fade again. He does not move much. The day has come to its natural end. The work. The walking. The quiet repetition of small tasks. All of it now rests within him. There is no need to carry it forward into this moment. He breathes slowly. The air feels cooler now. Calm. Soft against his skin. Outside, the settlement grows quiet. The last footsteps fade. The final voices disappear into the night. Doors close gently. And stillness takes their place. Not complete silence, but something close. A quiet filled with the smallest sounds. The faint movement of air. The distant, steady flow of the Nile. The servant leans forward slightly. He adjusts the remains of the fire. Not to make it grow, only to let it settle safely. The flame lowers further. The glow softens. The room darkens. He prepares for rest. The woven mat lies in its usual place. Simple. Unchanged. He lowers himself slowly. The ground beneath him is cool again, holding the quiet comfort of the night. He lies still. His body settles into the familiar position. No thought. No effort. Just habit. He closes his eyes. At first, he remains aware of the air, of the stillness, of the faint warmth that lingers in the room. His breathing slows. Inhale. Exhale. Each breath softer than the last. The weight of the day begins to fade. The small tensions in his body release. His hands grow still. Outside, the stars remain. The sky stretches endlessly. The air moves gently through the settlement, passing between the homes, over the, carrying with it the calm of the night. Time passes quietly, unnoticed. The servant drifts. Sleep comes without effort, without resistance. It arrives softly, like everything else in this place. His breathing becomes steady, slow, even. Around him, others sleep as well. The entire settlement rests. No movement. No sound beyond the faint presence of the night itself. The Nile continues its endless flow. Unseen. Unchanged. The stars hold their places above. The night carries everything gently. And within that calm, the servant sleeps, held once more in the quiet rhythm of rest, as the world around him waits patiently for the slow return of morning. The night continues for a long, quiet while. Nothing interrupts it. The air remains still, resting softly over the land. The sky above holds its deep darkness, scattered with stars that seem steady and patient, as if they have always been there and always will be. Inside the small home, the servant sleeps. His body is fully at rest now. The slow rhythm of his breathing rises and falls without effort. The work of the day has faded into the background, no longer active, no longer felt, only a distant memory held somewhere within him. Around him, the others sleep as well. No one moves. No one speaks. The room is calm. The woven mats lie flat beneath them, unchanged, offering the same simple comfort as every night before. Outside, the settlement is silent. The paths are empty. The homes are still. Even the air seems to pause, holding its breath within the quiet. The Nile flows in the distance. Always moving. Always steady. Though it cannot be seen from here, its presence remains, a constant part of the world, even in the deepest part of the night. Time passes. Slowly. Without measure. The stars begin, very gradually, to soften. Their brightness fades just slightly, not enough to disappear, but enough to change. The sky shifts. Almost imperceptibly. A faint light begins to gather at the far edge of the horizon. At first, it is difficult to see. Just a suggestion. A quiet lifting of the darkness. Inside the home, the servant remains asleep. But his body begins to sense the change. Not with thought. Not with awareness. Only through the quiet rhythm that has guided him through so many days. His breathing changes slightly. Becoming a little lighter. A little closer to waking. He shifts. A small movement of his arm. Then stillness again. The air cools just a little more. Holding the final moments of the night. The light at the horizon grows. Soft. Pale. The outlines of the world begin to return. The shapes of the homes. The paths. The distant line of the land. All slowly emerging from the darkness. The stars fade further. The sky lightens. The night begins to loosen its hold. Inside, the servant takes a deeper breath. Then another. His body moves closer to waking. His fingers shift slightly. His head turns just enough to find a more comfortable position. Then, slowly, his eyes open. Not suddenly. Not with effort. Just a quiet return. He looks into the dim space around him. The same walls. The same ceiling. The same still forms of others nearby. Nothing has changed. Everything is the same. And yet, another day has arrived. He remains still for a moment. Letting the quiet continue. His breathing is calm. His body feels rested, though not fully free from the memory of the work that will return again. After a short time, he begins to sit up. The mat shifts beneath him. The ground is cool. Familiar. He pauses. Just a breath. Then another. Then he stands. Slowly. His movements are steady. Unhurried. He steps toward the doorway. Outside, the air greets him once more. Cool. Soft. The first sounds of morning begin again. A distant bird. A faint call. The world waking gently. The sky is pale. The light gentle. The day beginning once more. And without thinking, without needing to decide, the servant prepares to begin again, stepping into the same quiet rhythm, the same steady flow, as the cycle continues. The morning continues, just as it always has. The servant steps out into the soft light, the cool air resting gently against his skin. The path to the Nile waits, unchanged. The jar will be filled again. The grain will be ground again. The fire will be lit again. The day will unfold, just as it did before. And just as it will again. Nothing in his life moves quickly. Nothing asks for more than what the moment holds. Each task follows the last. Water. Grain. Fire. Field. Rest. Then again. And again. Days pass in this quiet rhythm. Not counted. Not marked. They do not stand apart from one another. They blend together, like soft lines in the sand that are shaped by the wind and slowly fade into one continuous surface. Seasons change, though slowly. The Nile rises. Then falls. The land grows green for a time. Then returns to dry earth. The air becomes warmer. Then softer. But through all of it, the servant's life remains steady. His routine does not break. It adjusts only slightly, like the gentle shift of light across the ground. He wakes before the sun. He walks to the river. He works with his hands. He rests when the heat grows heavy. He returns at evening. He eats. He sleeps. There is no rush. No sudden change. Only the quiet passage of time. Years move in the same way. Unnoticed. The body changes slowly. Strength grows, then softens. Movements remain familiar, even as they become slightly slower, slightly more careful. The hands stay rough. The feet remain steady. The rhythm continues. Always the same. The servant does not leave behind grand stories. There are no records of his days. No carvings. No written words to mark his passing. But his life is not empty. It is full, in a quiet, steady way. Full of mornings that begin in stillness. Full of simple work that fills the hours. Full of evenings that return gently to rest. He is part of the land. Part of the rhythm of the Nile. Part of the quiet movement of people who live not for change, but for continuation. And in that continuation, there is a kind of peace. A softness. A steadiness that does not break. The days continue. Morning. Midday. Evening. Night. Again. And again. Until one day feels no different from the next. Until time itself becomes something gentle, something that flows rather than passes. And slowly, as the light fades once more over the small settlement, the world returns to stillness. The fire grows low. The voices fade. The air cools. The stars appear again, steady and quiet above. The servant lies down, just as he has done so many times before. On the same woven mat, on the same cool ground. His breathing slows. His body settles. The day leaves him gently. Outside, the Nile continues to flow. Unseen. Unending. The night holds everything in its calm. And as sleep comes once more, softly and without effort, the rhythm remains. Unbroken. Carrying on. Far beyond a single day. Far beyond a single life. Drifting quietly forward, like the slow, endless movement of water beneath the stars. And in that stillness, everything rests. Everything continues. And the story fades, gently, into the quiet of the night.